Margarita, I am glad to have you here. I was just on your show. I am so thrilled to have you here. I've been watching you for a long time, actually, so I was thrilled when you reached out. I've been pumped for this conversation for a long time. In my head, you are the woman on TikTok that is like the harsh truth woman over there. You tell women
Mm.
how it is, and you give them truth that they need to move forward. One reason I want you here today, in particular, is a little bit selfish. I've been trying to find a gentle, loving way to tell the anxiously attached women here on my channel and everywhere in my network that they need to stop maybe chasing
Mm.
and pursuing the men as aggressively. A lot of these women are, like I saw in one of your Instagram reels lately, they're mothering a lot of the men they're with. When I say it, it comes out so harsh and they feel hurt and they're like, how could Adam do this? And if I don't say it, then they also get upset and say, how could you not tell women to stop doing this? So I'm having a hard time finding a middle ground. And in true secure attachment fashion, I instead am going to collaborate with a friend, bring the friend in, and you can help do what I
We'll do it
cannot.
together.
I would love for you to start talking directly to the women right now who I know are listening. Hello, ladies. When should a woman be chasing a man? Help me understand that.
Um, a woman should be chasing a man if she wants to be in her masculine energy. And she's going to set herself up for a life that is really, really difficult. But there is that 1% of woman who wants to be romanticizing the relationship, chasing the guy. He doesn't want her back. It's so exciting and it's so thrilling. But for the average woman who wants to be in her feminine and wants to be actually loved and cherished, that kind of romantic novel of pursuing a guy who's like not interested is actually a really difficult life. I know it's exciting, girls. Like, I know it's exciting at the beginning. He's so elusive. It's so delicious because he probably reminds you of your dad who wasn't around or something like that, right? Usually. But or some guy you saw in a movie. But that's not love. It's not going to be funny when you've got 3 kids and he's running away and you're like, hi, can you help me? And he's somewhere, and you're chasing. That's not funny then, is it?
No, it's not adorable when he's sitting there abandoning your family, when your kids are
Mm-hmm.
crying, when they're saying, I don't think dad likes me. And it's like your 6-year-old, like having an existential crisis because dad is not there. It's not funny. It's not adorable. And women do need to remember that there's more than just you at stake.
Exactly. And I saw a documentary or somebody talking about the things that come out when kids go to this camp overnight. A lot of the kids who don't grow up with fathers stay up at night talking to the camp leaders about why wasn't he there? Why didn't he like me? Why is he absent? That is the pain point for a lot of children. And then we wonder why a lot of us are anxiously attached because that is the pain point. But you're recreating it in your life. You're an anxious person. You choose a person who's not going to be there for whatever reason. You chase him and he relents because you've chased him enough. And the thing about chasing a man is men know a good thing when they see it. So he will be with you probably in the end. Like, you can chase him down. There's a lot of men who kind of are reluctant in a relationship and they're just there. But then he will inevitably go and you will have your child having your anxious attachment, and it repeats and it repeats and it repeats. And unless you can stop it at you, unless you can do the work and stop it at you so it doesn't repeat throughout your family.
Why do you think, because this is a bad adaptation strategy that is not going to get women happy or their children happy or even men happy, why do you think so many women are turning to chasing men today?
Because in their early childhood, anxious attachment develops, and you'll know this because you're the expert, when a child does not know how to get the attention and the love that they want from an attachment figure. So sometimes the love oscillates. Sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. And the child learns that they have to put in a lot of effort to receive any kind of recognition, attention, or love. That is their algorithm, almost like an Instagram algorithm of how to get that attention and love. They've never been a secure person, and they don't actually know that they will get more love being secure. So that's the only way they know. So when we sit here and we're like, stop being anxious, they're like, yeah, but if I don't reach out and if I don't keep pursuing, I will be alone in a ditch by myself. That's literally how they feel. When women write to me, they say, yeah, but then he'll never speak to me. Then he'll never see me. And the big question is, why would you want him to see you if he doesn't want to, unless you are making all the effort? And that is the mindset that they need to shift. Yes, you can force people to be around you. It's not going to be great, but you can force a lot of things. But surely you'd want someone who wants to be there. I don't know.
Right. I don't think those women are really even connecting to that man. They
No.
have something called intermittent
Mhm.
reinforcement, same thing that gives us gambling addiction. If you have an unpredictable set of times, you have to push the button and keep spending, 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 and making him happy. And eventually, once in a while, he turns around and gives you a payout, and you get the oxytocin and the dopamine rush, and you're addicted to it. And this is the only way these women understand that there's any connection whatsoever. I don't really think they love him. I think that they have a gambling
And they
addiction.
have an
Does that hit?
addiction to, and they have almost like a vendetta. I know that sounds really big, but they want to prove themselves against that person who didn't give them that love. So they don't want Jake over here who's secure. He's really nice and he's a nice guy and he's nice to people. They want Brandon who's doesn't want them, and they're like, I will prove to you and therefore vicariously to my childhood self and everyone who's ever rejected me that I'm worthy of something. How do I know that? Because I realized that was my pattern. My dad wasn't around. He's a fine normal person, but he wasn't around for me. So I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll be really attractive. How do I prove that? Miss Universe. I'll go and do that. Place second, didn't get his attention. Damn it. Okay. Do you know what I'll do? I'll get good grades. Got that? Didn't change his mind. I was like, what is going on here? Everything I'm doing. And then I realized, wait a minute. It's not what I'm doing or not doing. It's him who's not interested in having a child, a relationship with a child. And when I had children, it unlocked. I was like, oh, it wasn't me. It's him and his choice. And that's fine. And like women still write to me, how do you let go of that father thing? Because I no longer need a parent. I am the parent to my children. I don't need a parent. Even if you walked in now, I'd be like, hi, nice to meet you. I have no bad feelings. I have no good feelings. I don't need a parent. I'm in my mid 30s. I'm okay. But when I was younger, and a lot of women in their 40s, 50s still need a parent because they haven't reparented themselves. They haven't created the security for themselves. They haven't chosen secure people. They haven't chosen people who choose them. So they're still attracted to that toxic relationship.
It's true. Their whole life, their whole purpose is to be
Mm.
accepted. It's to prove everybody wrong. It's to prove that they have value. That is the purpose of their life. And it's terribly sad. We've got to correct that. What do you do? How do you encourage women to get through that? Because I know how I do it, but what do you do?
There's a practice I wrote about it in my book, and that is, it seems very esoteric and it seems very not placed in anything like neuroscience or anything. But you literally, when you're falling asleep and you're in that space between awake and asleep, you go into a space where you imagine yourself and your childhood self when you felt that rejection, when you felt that reinforcement wasn't connected to wherever it was. Let's say you're 8 and you go in and you see that scene, you remember the textures, you really have to connect to that moment. You remember the sofa that was standing there, you remember how the TV was playing, you remember it. And you walk in as your adult self to let your mind know that you are now not the child who needs the love, but you are now the adult who's able to give it. You see yourself from the side, the child who's sitting there, and you come in as your adult self and you're imagining this and you say, hi, Elizabeth, or whoever you are. What is it you need? I'm here. I'm going to give it to you. You need a hug? I'm going to give it to you. And you replay that in your mind. You visit your child self, and you as your adult self give that child what it wants. You say, let's come out of here. Let's go somewhere else. You take that child by the hand and you lead them out. And some people say when they do this practice that the child doesn't want to come the first time, and that's fine, right? So you do it again until the child wants to come out, and you create a safe space. It could be a beach somewhere. It could be a tree house. It could be some magical place that you take that child to, and you let them know that they are now safe, that this is now a place where they can be safe. You set them up. You basically mother them as your, or father them as your older self. And I kid you not, if you go through this practice, it unlocks something where you stop associating with your child self and you start associating with yourself as a protector of you. So then when Brandon comes and he's like, actually, I've got no time for you, you're like, you know what? I've got no time for you because you're now hurting my child self. I can feel that I'm hurt. Get out of here. Piss off. Sorry. Know what I mean? Like you start being more defensive of yourself as opposed to trying to win his affection. Because who is he to even be here?
Right. I like this because as you're falling asleep, you're falling into your parasympathetic nervous system where you're going to be calm. You can produce serotonin. You're essentially using some internal family systems and some guided imagery to really activate that inner child piece. This is a normal thing that a lot of people do. This is awesome. And then you are releasing oxytocin and serotonin for yourself and thereby actually shifting your locus of control internal instead of external. I can regulate myself. The research on this is fascinating. We have to regulate ourselves about 70%. About 30% 30% comes from external regulation, co-regulation with other humans, but 70% is us. And I think the majority of these women, they probably are doing maybe 40% self-regulation, if that, right? They're putting 60% external, and then they hyperfixate on one person at a time. And the research is very clear that when we hyperfixate on one oxytocin source, we become hyper jealous, hyper scared, and hyper afraid of losing that person. So then we collapse into them. And a lot of men say, oh, women have no thoughts of their own, no opinions, no personalities, no hobbies. They get in a relationship and they lose themselves. No, that's that hyperfixation for survival safety. That's not what women are supposed to be. Women are supposed to be so much fuller than that and so much more than that.
And I use big, grand language when I make my content so that it kind of triggers people into some way. I say, like, become self-obsessed, become this. And I hear therapists talking about, our culture is too self-obsessed. Our culture is too about, ourselves. And I'm like, you have no idea how others focused these women are. All of my DMs are filled with how do I make him, how to make him. So I always start my content with the way you make him love you is, because I know that that's going to speak to that type of woman who would care. And then I'm like, is by being a full person. And they don't want to, Adam, they really don't want to, because they're so used to the dopamine source being from this one object of affection. But if you can make it about yourself and your journey and like your character development, almost like it's a movie or a script, these people stop looking interesting and they almost become redundant. You can see them for who they are, and they might not even be bad. A lot of times they're just deeply boring.
Deeply boring. Elaborate on that for me, please. I love the point.
I find that a lot of the men that women fixate on lack, sorry, gentlemen, an interesting personality. Some of the secure men are actually more interesting, more intricate. They have a more interesting life, but these men who these women lock in, they could be out of the narcissists or people like that. I'm not going to diagnose them. I don't know them, but they're often deeply boring. They're kind of vacuous. They don't have these personality traits that these women give them attributes for. He's tall, that means he's strong, and because he's strong, that means he's brave, and because he's brave, he looks like some knight in a movie I saw. Like, no, the guy's just tall. You've just made all those links for no reason.
I love this. This is such a common pitfall for so many women. They connect to an avoidant man. Avoidant men have no emotional connectiveness to other people. They cannot be personal, so they overcompensate with intellectualization. And then they're intellectuals, but really they're only about this deep. They're like a wide lake that's a mile wide and an inch deep, and that's it. And you think that they're deep, wonderful people because they can have a conversation about philosophy, but they couldn't talk about their emotional connection with you or a family or anything really for more than 3 seconds without crying and running from the table because it scares them to be intimate or personal. So I agree with you. A lot of these men are so stuck in survival mode. There is nothing more to them. It's just get with him, have some dopamine sex, and then he's done with you. And then on to the next person. What, for the rest of your life?
Yeah, it's tiring, and they enter the loop of then he, gets his space and he's gone for a while, and then he can come back, and then they just repeat it again and again and again. And I don't know, it's for someone, but it's not for me because I have like other things to do. I don't know, build a business, have children. I can't. This guy,
I love this. I love this. One reason I followed you for a long time, I love you come from, you were born overseas, right?
Yeah, I was born, my mom is Russian. Where? And I was born in Russia, and I moved to England when I was 5 years old.
Right. I think it's going to take a Eastern European woman to sort of revitalize American women in particular, because they have lost so much of their sense of control here, their sense of self, their sense of anything like that. And I think from what I've heard, the women over in Eastern Europe have a bit more of a sense of, look, I'm going to protect me. I'm going to do what needs to be done. I'm going to make sure that I am getting what is due to me. I've heard that quite a bit. I have a very dear friend who's Russian, and he warned me about that.
Yeah. So it's I think people attach so much to social media and what women say right now online is because they don't have women telling them what to do. And I know that sounds really ironic, but throughout history, men have had men tell them what to do, how to be a man, how to grow up. And we've had women tell you what to do. I'm telling you, if he texts you on Wednesday at 9 p.m., let's meet up, say no. Oh, but it's not authentic, but I want to. I don't care. I don't care. It's not authentic. I said no. As your bigger sister, as your mom, as your auntie, I said no. Oh, But that's going to make you have a better outcome. That's going to get rid of the guys who are not actually interested and make the guy who's interested and sees you as a woman who is valuable to him, he's not going to run away. He's going to say, okay, I won't ask her so late next time. That's all, you know.
I love this. I saw an Instagram reel that you put out actually just very recently. I love watching them. And one of them said, men will fall to the lowest level of effort that you make them do.
100%.
And I watched it and I went, is that really true? And I started thinking back even to my last 16 years of marriage with my wife. And I went, yeah, no, that's true. Men do. Would you explain more for the audience,
men
please?
are
Because it's a very
wonderful.
true
I adore men. I have a son. I have a husband. I have men around me, but they're a different organism to women. Women will meet the expectations that they have set for themselves, their ideas of life, how they feel you've treated them in the past. They'll reciprocate. They've got all these paradigms of how they treat people. Men are an amazing organism because they're so efficient. So if he does not have to go here to a 10, he'll go to a 5. If 5 is what's expected and gets the result, fantastic. If he needs to text you at 9 p.m. to meet up with you at 10, he will. Not because he's mean and disrespects you. Sometimes that's the case, but usually if that is the expectation you have, then he will meet it. Why should he call you at 5, bring you flowers, take you out for dinner? Because he's not bad that he wants to sleep with you. You're very attractive. What do you want from him? Why does he have to jump through hoops? Men jump through hoops and do dates and do wooing and all this stuff because that was the expectation women had. Now we have a hookup culture. Why doesn't he take me out on dates? Why would he? What is the reason? He enjoys sitting in a restaurant. I don't know about you, Adam, but most men go out to eat, like the actual food. Women go out for the ambiance, to like sit, to take a photo because they look cute. Like it's a whole thing. He'll do it for you if that is what you expect in order to be with you. And then he sees your face. It makes him happy. You know, he is human. He likes to see you happy. But if you don't require it, he won't do it. Am I wrong?
No, you're 100% correct. Me and my guy friends, when we go out, it's like you go, you order, you eat, you go home. It's very short and efficient. It's everything is exactly to the point because men are tracking endlessly. Okay, I have this much to allocate here, this much here, this much here. How can I meet all my goals? The number of men who've come to me and said, Adam, I was so disappointed on the second date with this girl. I thought it was really going to go well. It was amazing. And then she came on to me and we had sex on the second date. I go, okay, well, that's unfortunate that you feel badly.
Yeah.
Tell me more. And they say, well, I thought she had her morals intact. I thought she was going to be a great mom, but she's just out here sleeping with everybody. So this is not the pathway to build a marriage or get a man to marry you and really respect you. It's just not going to. The more you make him work for it without acting like a princess, you can't be a spoiled princess and say, I deserve. But the more you show him, look, this is how it's going to be. This is where it's going to be. This is why. And this is what I'm going to offer in exchange. And this is how it's going to work. The more you build him that pathway, actually, the more value that you have.
I've never met a woman who would enjoy sleeping with a man who didn't see future potential with her. Every woman who sleeps with a man on the second date is doing it in the ethos that is her future partner. I've never met one, maybe one. And I still doubted it when she told me, but I'll give a benefit of a doubt where she's like, I just like sleeping with random men. You know, most men would sleep with if they're single, attractive women, if given the chance, because that is something that they enjoy. A lot of women, she has to imagine that she's got a future with you, that you actually like her. So if you trick yourself enough to sleep with 7 people in a row who then don't choose you, that is a huge hit on your ego as a woman. And I don't mean the ego that you need to destroy, but on your self-value, because essentially you're going, this could be my future boyfriend. Nope, didn't want me. Oh, he could be my future boyfriend. Nope, didn't want me. Oh, this one, nope, didn't want me. At the end, you feel something about yourself, no matter how many therapy sessions you do, no matter how many mantras you do, you're going to feel a type of way. So when you say not like a princess, I agree exactly. But as a protective, normal human being, because your biology holds the fact that you as a woman could get pregnant and it's a bigger cost to you than it is to him. Hence why he wants to sleep with you straight away, but you naturally do not, no matter how much contraception you take.
Correct. I clearly remember the week that I almost lost hope for humanity. It was last year, and there was a period of time for about 1 week where 3 separate young single women came to me, all under 30, in coaching and said, Adam, it's just not working. I sleep with all these men on the first date and none of them will commit with me. And I said, why are you sleeping with them on the first date? And they said, it's an option not to. and it didn't even click for them that they could not sleep with him on the first date because they were competing against other women, competing against the screen at home, competing against everything else in his life. They felt compelled to have as much sex on the first date as he could possibly want. That was their only bonding mechanism. I almost lost hope at that point. So we'll just put that there.
They say to me, oh, but you know, he wanted to as well. He could have said no. He's not going to say no. He's not going to say no. He'll say yes, and then he will put you in a different category. But that's okay. But sometimes it takes time to learn that as an experience. I just worry that they're not learning from the experience. They're just thinking something's wrong.
Most of them are not, because here in the Western world, most of the women are telling them, yes, you go slay. It's going to be great. Have fun. You do you, girl power. They're hearing that message over and over and over, which is why I love your message, which is, look, you ladies are ruining your lives, and it's for guys that aren't even worth you. That's why I love your messages.
It's not worth it. Like, do all that with the guy who wants to be with you and wants to give you a certain, give you what? It's a gold digger mentality. No, it's not. It's I want to have a nice, happy life for my future children as well. What are you talking about? Like, why do you think that's sold to women, this whole idea? Why do you think it's sold? Like, go out, girl power, sleep with everyone. What is it? Where does that come from?
I think that we are so deep into 4 generations here in the far West of broken relationships with men who've been dead and gone for a long time, women who are raising other women to be afraid of men. It's 4 generations of don't trust men. They let you down no matter what. So it's just fear, fear, fear. I think the corporations have stepped in and started encouraging that messaging as well. I don't think it's malicious, maybe from government stuff like some people say, but I believe that these women are being pushed into that area because it's useful to have women who are that afraid of men and to separate us and cluster us out like this. It's useful for corporations to make money off of it. It's also useful for their parents to feel a little bit sense of validation. It's useful for the women who are making poor choices to then feel at ease because all the other women are making poor choices too. It's validation of what they're doing. It's one woman shaving her head and everyone else cheering her on because now there's an uglier woman than her and they get to feel better because of her. I think that it's a race to the bottom. It's a crab bucket mentality.
And I think it's good for corporations to have everybody feeling very singular and working. And I don't mean singular in terms of like I'm single and I'm not married, but just as a singular entity and working for themselves and paying taxes for themselves. It's beneficial and it's good. So when you hear a woman saying, oh, do you know what? I actually trust my husband and we're doing this together and he does this and I do that. That's worrying because all of a sudden it's like, why would you trust your husband? You should trust your boss who actually doesn't care about you and can fire you tomorrow, but you should trust your boss more than you trust your husband. What?
Right.
You don't even know him.
I know. Yeah. You have a boss that is only giving you a paycheck and that's it. He can cut you out. He can have you do overtime at any point and scream at you at any point, and there's almost no protection. But having a husband would be bad.
Yeah, because
right?
that's the man who's toxic.
I would love to talk about the other side of this idea because one of your other reels recently was, it was brilliant, as they usually are, mothering. Mothering your man. Tell us about mothering your man.
Well, we love to mother things because we essentially are that in our biology, and often women, and it's okay. Having kids is really hard. I have 2, you have many as well, and it's hard work, right? So when we don't have kids for a while, now we don't as women, that energy goes to something. Often it's pets, but sometimes it's your husband. He's there. And you either start mothering him because you don't have that energy to give to children, or you have children and he just falls into the category of them as well. And we think that we're going to like make him do well and make him really progressive and push him along like we do our children. And what that does to a man is make him go, all right, like I said, men only do what they are asked to do in the level that they asked to meet. So he goes, okay, I'll be your kid then. I'll be your child. I'll just relax. You tell me what to do. And I'm not saying that he will say that in a toxic way in order to make you, do all these things. They talk a lot about fake incompetence or something, like when he doesn't put his dishes away. Or maybe it's because you've told him he doesn't do them right every single time. So he's like, okay, you do it. And he's just relaxed and sat down. I actively, do you know how hard it is? Because I'm also female, watch my husband or just men in my life do things in the most inadequate, weird way. And I say nothing because I'm not his mum. He's already been raised. I am not going to enter that role. I'm just going to say, oh, thank you so much for doing the dishes. Oh my God. I do it more realistic. Don't worry. I'm just saying it like that to you. But, I'm genuinely happy that he's done it in whatever way he's done it. And this magic thing happens that the more they do stuff, the more they take ownership of it, and the more responsible they are, and I don't even have to look at that anymore. But if you're there controlling, coercing, manipulating, telling him off, that is all mothering. And women get confused. Oh, but is mothering nurturing? No. Nurturing is seeing someone, you come to my house and I'm like, oh, would you like some water, a beer, juice? What is it you want? Because I trust you to have your own likes, wants, and interests. You're not my child. And if you say, I want a beer at 1 p.m., great, no problem. You're not my kid. Have whatever you want. If I was to mother you, I'd be like, Adam, are you serious? Are you not driving in a minute? Why would you have a beer at 1 o'clock? Is that going to be good for your health? Wow, that's you. You always do that. You actually don't care about how I'm just trying to help you. And that is the difference. So if you want to mother him, he's going to become a child. He will. And you will then complain on forums about how annoying and incompetent he is. Let him live. He was living for 35 years without you. He will survive. He's not got lost on his way home from work. He's okay. You don't need to check on him, please. And that's on mothering.
And there's the dark side of mothering as well. The dark side of mothering as well, which is more codependency. His damaging behaviors that you shouldn't be allowing, you shouldn't be tolerating. Instead, you do. And you just clean up after him. You wipe his nose like a little boy and you take care of him. And that's your way of earning love, earning approval, making sure he can never leave you because he can't even live his life without you. And that codependency destroys both of you.
Codependency is really coercive, and women deploy that a lot. And it's a toxic femininity that they have. It's almost like they bank things that they do for a man without telling him, because he's never asked them to do them, but they do it. They do this. And at the end is, I expect that back from you. Why didn't you this? And there's an anger and a rage in them that they've done so much, but he's never done it back. And I always ask them, but why are you cooking for him? He's your boyfriend, not your husband. Why are you doing these things? Oh, because, I'm a nice person. That's what he never asked you. Why don't you do it for children who need help? I don't know, homeless people who actually need help. Why are you doing it for this man who's never asked you? Oh, it's to make him obligated. Of course. That's the unwritten contract, isn't it? You think that he is going to then love you and you'll become irreplaceable. But no, what you've become is suffocating. And men's biggest value, I don't know if you'll agree with me, Adam, but is their freedom, not freedom to run around and sleep with everybody, but freedom to remain autonomous and their own person, to not be changed by a woman who comes into their life and forces them to be something, because they do not thrive in that environment. A man needs to feel like he's his own man. That's my feeling.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. Masculinity and femininity come from opposite places and arrive in the same place at the end. Men need to begin with personal sovereignty, mastery over self, including your nervous system, your attachment issues, your fear, your money, right? Your body, everything. You have to master yourself and be free. And then from that springs your ability to provide for others, to care for others. You now can walk into the responsibility because you have mastered self enough that it's safe for you to now shelter other people and make promises to them. You can't make and keep promises to a family until you have mastered yourself and you're ready to provide for them. So you begin with personal sovereignty and you end in responsibility to others. Without sacrificing your sovereignty, you step into it willingly. Femininity comes from the opposite place. It begins in service to others and caring for others and nurturing. But at some point, a woman must reach full, mature femininity, which begins to be self-sovereign again. She starts taking control of how she's giving that energy and that care to other people. She must master herself so that she can then apportion out her love and care to other people appropriately. Otherwise, you're giving to this jerk over here and he's drinking it all up. And meanwhile, the other people are starving to death.
And have you noticed right now, most men are not taking responsibility. Not most men, but this is the issue. Men aren't taking responsibility. They're never worried. They're kind of reclining. They're not responsible for anyone. They're relaxed, fully feminine. And women are running around, taking responsibility for everyone, really stressed, very in their masculine, very stressed. What is happening? Literally, let's swap. She needs to be more relaxed and in her flow, which is so hard for women to do because they're responsible for everything. And we're saying to him, take some responsibility, but we're not giving him any. So
you're not giving, a lot of women are not giving men anything to do. And at the same time, they're also not offering him much in return for doing that either. And this is not to say women have nothing to offer. It's that modern women have lost the understanding of what it is they even offer to a good, mature man. They think it's sex. They think it's cooking. They think that these tasks are what you offer, and then they log those tasks as a price that you need to pay at the end. The bill comes due at the end of the restaurant experience. And that's not it at all, right? Men need to immerse into a peaceful environment. We can't actually even really click into our parasympathetic nervous system to really calm down and rest and heal. In the old days, every culture says that the feminine is healing. We don't know what that means until we look at neurobiology. When he's in his parasympathetic nervous system with you and resting, he actually goes to a deeper state where he actually begins fostering more human growth hormone. Wound healing improves. Testosterone production improves. His immune system improves. Everything begins to improve. He gains about 10 to 15 years onto his life expectancy. And they're high quality years, not terrible either, all because of the presence of a peaceful, calm, feminine partner. All of this is true, and it's in biology.
I was speaking to somebody who said, she's dating someone. She goes, I don't think we're fairly matched. And I said, why? She goes, well, we're evenly attractive and we have similar interests and we're both good people, but he makes more money than I do. And I said, sorry? She goes, well, he makes more money than I do, so like he's more like valuable in the dating marketplace. I said, so you think he is going to value you because you have an equal paycheck? She goes, yes. And then there were women around her. She was in her 20s. They were like, yes, of course. We all have to have the same kind of. And I thought, oh my God, we have broken everything, because if a man wants an equal business partner, he can go find many business partners. Women think that their value is to come being equally attractive, equally financially stable, and both have apartments, both have cars, both have this. And when they come with all those credentials, they are surprised that he doesn't want her, because she cannot give him the one thing that he cannot get himself, and that is femininity, right? He can get a car, he can get an apartment, he can get business partners, and he can get more money. He doesn't need your money. And they did not understand that. They thought I was some kind of wizard speaking like random, esoteric language. I was like, oh my God, I'll leave it. Fine. Go make the same money, and then let me see.
The only men I've ever met who ever worry about, does she make enough money, are the men who are so hyper independent and afraid of real connection and intimacy and responsibility that they refuse to ever build a family. So they only want a playmate who comes over occasionally, and then he can kick her out when he's done, and she makes her own money. He will never be helpful to her. He can leave her right over there, and she will make her own money. Those are the only men I've ever seen who really valued a woman's paycheck or her education or even her intellect, frankly.
If you have a great paycheck, and that's fantastic, but then you have children and a family, a myriad of things could happen where you cannot work anymore. Because if I was a man, I would want a woman who said, you know what, I would sacrifice anything to look after my children, Like if something push comes to shove, career schmaria, I don't care. Like if my child needs me, some children need more attention and love or whatever. So there should be in a man's mind the idea that her paycheck is nice as an addition to their family, but if it was to disappear when we have young children, then you should be able to be okay. If you're reliant on that and then your children are suffering or struggling and they need you and you're like, bye, wife, go to work, I'm not sure that's the type of man that I would see value in having children with.
No, those men have no idea how children even work or how attachment works or anything.
Exactly.
One of the proudest days of my life was when I was able to fully retire my wife from work completely so that she could stay at home and do what she does best. Earlier in our relationship, she was a CEO of her own company. She ran her own service company. It was amazing. She was great. Proudest day of my life to retire her so that she could stay at home and have our 5 children and then mother our 5 children, because I can go make money. I can go to work. I can work 16 hours a day. Cool. Whatever. I'm a man. I can do that. I'm in my masculine. It's where I'm supposed to be. She should not be doing that. That is a waste of time and effort to have a specialist doing a general job that somebody else could be doing. Exactly. She is a specialist. She needs to be in her proper environment where she can be maximizing her optimization for her nervous system and for her family and be thriving in it.
So when women come in their 20s and they're talking about paycheck this, paycheck that, and then they're saying they want kids, it doesn't add up. And I love a career for women. I love to have a career just because I'm very active minded, and that's great. But I do it around, having had children, I do it around my time with my children. If I didn't want children, go ahead, do the 50-50, love your life, live your life, do whatever you want. You know what I mean? But a family is a whole different question.
Yeah. And the majority of women do want
They
children, the
do.
research shows. Actually, among millennial women, they are the most likely to want
Hmm.
children, and unfortunately, the least likely to
I know,
have
it's so
children.
sad.
And of the women who don't have kids, right, of the women who don't have kids, 90% planned to have kids, and it didn't happen, and they're usually aggrieved by it. A lot of the saddest clients who ever come to me are women in their mid-50s who've gone through menopause and say, what am I supposed to do now? I don't have a husband because I played all those games trying to find him, and it never worked. I attached to a guy who was kind of in and out of his marriage over and over and over, hoping
Hmm.
he would come be with me. We never had kids. And what do I do now? I'm 55 and he's got bored of me and he's found a new girl who's like 30. And I'm like, what do I do?
The role of mum isn't glorified in the West, you know, and I don't mean glorified as in like you're a hero, you're a mum, but they just, there isn't a kind of celebration of motherhood in the West at all. And I know this very accurately because before the age of 5, I lived in Russia, and mums there are in their early 20s when I was born. Okay. So I always saw motherhood as like everyone's kind of a mum and they do their thing and they're still fabulous. And my mum was super attractive and fabulous, and everyone does their thing and they kind of have kids. So then I moved to the West and I grow up there, and all the mums are kind of got this like reputation of being run down and like you've sacrificed your life and it's so hard and da da da. And I'm like, huh, there's a difference. And then on social media, you're a mom, you know, my mother life is hard. And I get it. We don't have a village. I am here. My mum's in the UK. I'm in Australia. We don't have a village. It's very, very, very hard. But I never saw motherhood as being dowdy, unsexy, unfeminine. I saw it as being feminine, and I saw it as being like, oh, hot mum, you know? So I think we're sold a narrative that women, motherhood is not celebrated. So I understand why women don't want to do it. They feel like they've got to live their life and almost die at motherhood. Like that is where you die. And then you become like this crustacean that just looks after people. The shell of like this depleted, ugly prawn. I don't know. But I get why women don't want that, you know. It's the narrative that is given to motherhood. Literally, I talk to young women and they're like, no, I just want to live a little bit before I have them. I just want to travel to Japan. I'm like, you really think that the moment you have a kid, a lot of things will be over, and what will be over is putting yourself first. That will be over. But that doesn't mean your life's over, you know. That's
Oh,
just an expansion.
oh my goodness. Well, it should be. There should be so much more. Motherhood should make your life
Mm,
rich. It should make your life full. It should give you a joy in your life. Yes, it's hard and messy, as you well
mm,
know, but it's also wonderful and
mm.
fulfilling. And you know what? Very quickly, it also
Yeah.
passes, and you are a mother to adult children who you can now share those experiences with in life, and that richens your entire life
Mm,
too, because now you get to enjoy all those wonderful things with your kids. Okay, I don't want to have kids because I want to go to Japan. Well, imagine being able to go to Japan with your
mhm.
children when they're adults and experience that and grow
And these
together with them
people
and
actually want
learn
to be with
together.
you. Like they adore you. They actually, the way they look at you, you are superhuman to them. And all you do is spend your life chasing these guys who don't even want to be with you. And you see that as freedom as opposed to people who actually want to be with you. And, but that's just our society, isn't it?
Yeah,
Children have a bad
unfortunately.
reputation. They are annoying, but they have a bad
Children have a bad
reputation.
reputation. We call them parasites.
Yeah.
Men have a bad reputation. Mothers have a bad reputation. We are geared to just keep everybody locked in their little cube, not go anywhere. Just keep consuming, keep paying your bills, and that's
Mm.
it. And that's killing so many people. Do you think that women need to take that first step toward fixing this, or men need to take the first step? Or what's the answer, do you think?
I am a woman in this lifetime. I don't know how many lifetimes we have, but and I believe in the power that women hold, and I believe that power is to shift the narrative. I believe that women have a huge influence. Man is the head, woman is the neck. Watch it can turn the head. See, so we have the influence of where men go, and using a feminine power, which is the soft power, which is the power of influence, we can change how men see us, the trajectory of it. Because if you look, yes, patriarchy, men are awful, blah blah blah, but if you look at the narratives that women sell, men kind of jump on board. For example, women are like, I want to be girl boss. I want to be girl boss. All modern men are like, okay, girl boss, 50-50. There aren't men out here like, no, you must go in the house and wash my dishes. In the West, they're like, okay, let's do that. Men kind of gradually go with whatever women, a while ago it was, no, I need you to do this, 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 and I need you to meet these requirements, and I need you to marry me. Like when I'm younger, and then that's the requirements that men met. So I think if we want to change the narrative, me being me and having an influence on women, I think women should change it, because that's the easier way. Changing men who don't change unless they have to is kind of, how can you influence someone else to change? There's more power in changing yourself, I think. If I was a man, I'd say men should change first, probably.
I agree with that. No, I agree with that. I think we're at a stuck place because yes, women need to shift the narrative. One of my dear friends grew up Russian, and he said, well, he is Russian, but he grew up in Russia and Ukraine area, and he said that nothing really changed. It got violent, it got torn apart. There was so much terrible, terrible, terrible circumstances. He says until the women got together and they had children and they said, no more. We will not tolerate this anymore. We will not put up with men who act this way anymore. We're not going to allow men into our homes if they're acting this way. No more. And all of a sudden, just as you said, the men went, maybe we should stop shooting each other. And they gradually stopped doing that. And then they got more ethical, and they did more of what they needed to do to take care of society and family, because the women demanded it. Now, right now, women in America are not demanding that. They're demanding the opposite. I don't know what point we're going to get to before women start demanding this and this connection a lot more.
And they're scared. They're very scared to say no and all this stuff, because it's funny when I make content about just, don't sleep with them on the first date. A lot of men stitch it, and they're like, well, if you're not going to sleep with me on the first date, I'm just going to move on to someone else. Move on. Look at you. Just move on, please. I don't even want you in my vicinity, on the vicinity of anyone that I know. I'm so glad you outed yourself, because at the end of the day, what you're auditioning for, sir, is the opportunity to procreate and continue your genetics, right? So if that is how you act, off you go. We don't need you. Men understand this on a base level, where they understand that women are valuable to them because they know that they have to be liked by women in order to procreate. It's important. That is why organisms exist, isn't it? So if women don't understand the power they have, you don't understand the power you have at all.
Margaret, Margarita, one thing I think that's adorable and fantastic about you is you absolutely don't candy coat anything. You don't sugarcoat it. You tell it exactly the way it is. And it can come across so surprisingly at first that I think a lot of people might accidentally put you into the camp of those women who teach manipulation tactics. And I will say, I have never once seen you teach a manipulation tactic. You teach women exactly what their value is, how to step up and be honest and connected, but you don't teach them how to go in those bad areas. You call them to account.
I love good men.
How do you, as a woman, walk that line?
Because I love good men. I have so much faith in good men. Like I said, I love children. I love really good men. I love human beings. I love people, but I don't like time wasters, manipulators, and things like that. And everything I teach and everything I talk about roots those out. So if you are like, sir, if you're going to manipulate me with the I'll move on if you don't sleep with me, please leave quicker, so that someone like Adam can walk in. Someone who's actually worthy of something can walk in. Like the quicker you eliminate yourself out of the competition, the better. You guys can go by yourselves and do something else. There was always a cohort of men throughout history who never got to be with women. And now, because of social media and manipulation and the contraceptive pill or whatever myriad of things that exist, men can hide behind that, They can hide behind not being someone who can really be there for her, provide for her, and offer her something. But I don't think those men are really good for any women. They can all change. They all have an opportunity to change and meet a requirement. I'm not saying that they don't deserve good things, but there's a lot of good men who are going without relationships because a lot of these time wasters are in women's lives. I don't like that.
What is a good tip for the women at home right now? I love crunchy tips. What is a good tip for a woman right now? She's finding herself in a relationship or a pseudo relationship with a situationship with a man who's a time waster. She believes she is deeply in love with him. It's been 2 or 3 years and she's waiting for him to put a label on it and then get married. What would you tell that woman right now?
Well, I love love. Love is fantastic. So let's test it. Let's detach. Let's stop pursuing him, initiating phone calls, writing to him all the time, asking him when is he going to lock it down, asking him what we're in. Let's test love. Let's imagine that he really loves you. Great. Stop initiating. He's the man. Let's see. Let's see in a month where we are. If he's, powering the ship, steering the ship, you're almost engaged. Wow. I love it for you. if you talk to him once every Tuesday for 10 minutes. Imagine, let's let him be who he is and believe him. Let's stop having delusions and imagining who he is. Let him actually, don't be cold, don't not see him, but let him action everything. And let's see where we end up. Let's see. And if you're happy with one phone call every Tuesday, every week, then you can agree to that relationship, but stop trying to change it. Trust and believe that if he wanted to be with you, you wouldn't have to ask him, what are we and where are we going? Because he would be terrified to lose you.
One thing I tell people, and women usually believe in this when they hear it, is that women don't commit to men.
Mm-mm.
They don't. They devote themselves to men, but they commit themselves to the vision that man presents, the life they'll co-create, the legacy they'll co-create. Women even outlive men by about 10 years to continue fostering that legacy after he's passed away. And his children say, what would dad do if he was here? There's a woman right there who's known him all her life. She'll say, this is what your dad would do for 10 years of transition. So our system is built actually even biologically for her to hand over that legacy to the next generation for him. So it's crucial that we have that in play. But the way that a man pursues a woman demonstrates the way he's going to pursue that vision as well. And most women are just jumping in for some guy who has no vision whatsoever, and it shows. And then she's the one pulling the boat forward, and it shows. And they're surprised when it doesn't go well. Women have no idea what men are for, I don't think.
That's literally it. They've got no idea what he is for. They think it's because he's cute. He's not going to be cute forever. Stop it. He needs to be the driver of the relationship. You need to feel safe with him, because there's many times in a woman's life where you won't feel safe in the world, during motherhood, where someone's going to have to step in and take ownership. And I mean ownership in the most beautiful way, because when men feel that they're a part of something and they own something, they are the most powerful, and they come in their most powerful sense, right? When you are like, oh, we're two separate people, don't even tell me what to do, they don't feel that ownership in the sovereign way that exists, right? So the more you see how men polish their cars that they love 500 times. It's like, seriously? But they have that love for the things that they feel is a part of them. They really take it seriously. And, oh, I can do it all by myself. Love that. Or let's delegate and let him do it, because look at him with his much more capable self. Why don't we just let him do it? I'll go do something else. So I think let's see how he can drive this ship. If you are stuck in a situationship, let him drive it. Let's see where we go. Let's see where we end up. Take a chance. You don't want to.
No, they don't want to. Most of them are so hyper fixated down onto that one man that he is their life. So if they don't do that, what do? They sit in a rocking chair by the window, they wrap themselves in a shawl, and they sob uncontrollably until his next phone call. And that's their life outside of that man.
Addicting.
Totally addicting. What they need to do is expand. Women, I think one big problem women today experience is that they are so socially isolated. Women are not meant to be with one man alone in a shack in the woods somewhere. That's not how women are supposed to function.
Men aren't our friends. And I mean that in the most best possible way. Like, stop making him your best friend. He's not your girlfriend. He's not your best friend. If anything, if he doesn't have that like otherness, like admiration of you as being like this goddess woman energy, he's going to start treating you very colloquially, very pedestrian. And we don't want that. So have friends, have your family, have all these things, and let him just be a man in your life. That makes a difference.
Yes. It's a massive difference. He should not be your best friend. He should not be your therapist. He shouldn't be your priest. He shouldn't be your, like your body pillow. He should be your partner in life. He should be a little bit dangerous, but not to you, dangerous to everybody else, right? There was a joke I saw on social media that said, like, the perfect man has no emotions except when she wants him to, and he kills everybody in the world, but is only nice to her. And that's really what you're looking for, is a man who has that danger, because then he can protect you.
Hence Beauty and the Beast. Hence every single story that ever existed is a woman taming a beast who hates everyone but loves her. And, Correct. I like a man who's a little bit socially awkward. Don't be talking to people. Talk to me, and that's it. I'm joking, but you know what I mean? I like a personality that isn't, for everybody. It's just for me.
Correct. And he can't collapse into you nurturing him. Women are always going to try
Yeah.
to change men for the
Yeah.
better, just a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit. And that's not a bad thing. We need micro improvements upon us. We
Hmm.
need suggestions. We need guidance in that way. But we also need to be resilient and not collapse into that and say, okay, mommy, whatever you want, whatever to
Hmm.
please you. That can't be the case either.
I think the reason some women are attracted to these men who are kind of difficult to be with is because they mix that signal as something like masculinity. They think his avoidance and his like lack of wanting to be with her is actually his resistance to her mothering influence. And she's like, oh, maybe he'd be a good leader in a relationship. He's actually not interested in you, but that's the thing that you're confusing.
That's the juvenile form of
Yeah.
masculinity that they're looking at, and I think women in the West are craving masculine men,
Mm.
even as they're afraid of them. So they see juvenile masculinity that is mostly self-sovereign, except their fear of intimacy and their fear of human relationships and closeness. He hasn't fixed his trauma responses, but everything else he's hyper masculine on, but not that one component that will allow him to take a next step into a fulfilling relationship. But that's still better than the anxious men who are
Yeah.
hiding, playing video games 12 hours a day and afraid to leave their home or even speak to a woman. There's research that something like 50% of young men have never
Yeah.
asked a woman out on a date now.
That's wild.
That's so confusing to me. I can't
If I was a
understand that,
man, I would just develop my
but it's happening.
competence, Competence is so wildly attractive. The way that men like physicality of how a woman looks, her femininity, her body. Women just love competence. I saw this reel of these Japanese firefighters quickly putting on ropes, and they're not even attractively dressed. They've got masks on, but they're so competently do it fast. I was like, oh, that's impressive. The whole chat is like, is this supposed to be pornographic? Is this supposed to be this sexy? Is this a thirst trap? All these women could not believe how attractive it is. And I'm like, you women are just craving men who are just capable. Like you could not even
Yes.
make out these men or if they were attractive or not, but they are just so starved of men who like can do something. And all they have at
Yes.
home is men who they've got a mother. He can't wash a plate. He doesn't know how to get his next job. How can I help him through? He's lost his job. Why do you need to help him? He's lost his job. He can find another job. Like, what are you going to carry him to the job interview? Is he a baby? Honestly, how can I help him?
It's true. That's no, yeah. The best way to help a man is to, yes, comfort him a little bit in a moment if he's injured, truly injured, and then ask him, who are you going to talk to? What are you going to do about this? Call to action. The feminine is a call to the quest. Every story ever written, the feminine calls the masculine to the quest. Hey, there's a dragon over there. What are you going to do about it, sir? You'd like to marry me? Well, look at that. Look, there's a dragon right over there in that cave. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? And who are you going to talk to about this? Those are questions women need to be asking men every day.
In fact, the harder it is for him to marry you, if there's a quest in there, the more he wants to. Women are like, oh, but I've been really good to him. I've been here for him. I've moved countries for him and he's not proposing to me. I'm like, actually, move to another country, make it super difficult and say your father is against it. He will show up trying to marry you. It's just how they are. Hence the dragon and all the stories.
This is so true. Oh my gosh, this is so
Because
true.
what does the dragon guard? He guards the treasure. If there's nothing guarding you, if there's no challenge, the man computes she's not that valuable.
There's an old saying when I was a young boy, I'm about 40 now. There was an old saying when I was a young boy that nobody uses anymore. And they used to say, why buy the cow if you're getting the milk for free?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And women don't
Exactly right. It's
realize
just
that.
psychology. It's just psychology. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. If you're already doing everything for him and as a girlfriend, why would he marry you? Because he loves me. Why would he marry you? As we said, men only come to the requirement that they're asked for. If I was a man, I would not marry you either. What benefits am I going to get? Your happiness? Okay, cool. We can get your happiness in 10 years. But first, I'm going to get a house. I'm going to achieve my goals. I'm going to achieve my dreams because the ring costs money and the wedding costs money. So let me just do what I got to do because I'm not going to get any benefits from marrying you. Maybe you'll stop nagging, but I'm quite good at tuning you out because I'm a man. So I'm fine with that. You just keep blah, 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 blah. I don't have to do all of this performance. But if you're not going to live with me and you're going to be amazing fun and you're not going to nag me, but you're not going to, be in my house, giving me all this feminine energy, cooking for me and just enjoying life together. And I'm also going to know that if I don't marry you within 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, you will move on because that's what you want. I will then marry you.
You know what's so
Right?
fascinating? I've never met a woman who truly wouldn't settle for less than marriage who didn't get marriage. The ones who say, well, I won't settle for less, but they always do over and over. Yeah, no, they lose out. But a woman who really says, I'm not going to settle for anything less. married that fast, usually to a great guy.
It's crazy because people say, I don't want to give him an ultimatum. He should want to. It's not an ultimatum. You're not going to berate him. I met my husband 10 years ago in England. He said, oh, I got a job in Australia. I'm moving. I said, oh my God, he's my boyfriend at the time. We know each other 3 months. I said, that's so fun. He moves, coming with me. I said, no, you're my boyfriend. I'm not moving for a boyfriend. Don't be crazy. But, you know, if you're ever around, I'll see you. I'll say hi. Only 3 months dating. He bought me a ticket to go to Australia. I visited him. He said, why don't you move here and see if you like living here? I said, I'm not going to move for a boyfriend. That is crazy. But maybe if you're in England again, I'll see you. He proposed after 3 months. Not because I said, marry me, I want to get married, da, da, da. I am not moving from where my mom lives, from where people are, from where I know. And I never nagged him, berated him, told him off, told him I need to get married. I just said, I'm not moving. You could dump me tomorrow if you're my boyfriend. I'm sorry. I'm not shifting my life, changing how I live or who I am for a boyfriend. A boyfriend, a friend who's a boy, please.
Yep. Men solve problems. If you create a lack of problems, he will never solve anything. He will just sit there like a lump.
Exactly.
Too much. And there's a difference between a boyfriend and a husband. I'd love to have you on the show again to talk about that, because that would be a great, amazing topic. Could you please tell everybody at home, every single place that they can find you and everything that they offer? Because most of the women in my audience really need to learn more about you.
I love it. Margarita Nazarenko, TikTok, Instagram, website. I've got a few courses that I put together that could be helpful. I've got a book called The New Rules on the principles of like dating and men and how to not manipulate him. But please just read it, because maybe I need to tell you if you don't know the rules.
I think most women out there need a mom or an aunt just like you, and most women are waiting for that. And I think you're the answer to most of their prayers that they've had. So thank you for being you, and please don't ever stop what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Adam. That's so kind.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, everybody at home, for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.